Agenda West Side Beer.
Guys, welcome to the episode of Into the West Comics. My name is Frank. The hot dog corn dog Paul is here.
Hello, how are you? My hair looks great today, by the way.
I was going to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to mention.
Well, it wasn't, so I had to.
All right. I don't know if we're calling him Big Thirsty or the Voodoo Ranger or
Calling
whatever.
him Big Red?
There's a new nickname every week. Big Red. Uncle Nephew Shane is here.
Do we clap?
Morning.
What?
Morning.
Oh, good morning.
Morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
I am Big Thirsty.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the West.
Oh, boy. And please welcome our special guest.
And there it goes.
Every time that we get to spend a little bit of time with him, it's always awesome. And we're excited every time that we do get to spend some time with him. He's got some developing projects coming up in the future that we're going to get into a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with The Last God, if you read Action Comics, if you are currently reading the Incredible Hulk run with Marvel, or if you read Alien, or can you stop?
Hiya.
Are you on fire?
Just excited.
No, but our guest is.
I'm excited every time this
My
dude comes
goodness,
on.
that's good. He just finished his run on Green Lantern War Journal, which was amazing as well. And Crocodile Black, the little creator-owned project, we're going to get into that as well. And it was announced, part of that all-in initiative that's going to be taking place beginning next month, guys. He's going to be taking on Batman and Robin, and we couldn't be more excited to spend a little bit of time with Mr. Phillip Kennedy Johnson.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being back.
Excellent.
Pleasure.
Phil, thanks for taking the time. I mean, we're gonna get into what's coming up for you in the coming weeks, but we wanted to spend some time talking about this creator-owned thing that you got with Boom Studios. It's going to be wrapping up in a couple of weeks, I think. Like maybe next week is the last issue, I think.
Sounds about right. It might be a little behind, actually. It might be like a couple weeks out, I think. But yeah, it's the last issue, man. Issue 5.
Talking about, of course, Crocodile Black. Sort of like your it's like a COVID hallucination thriller, Breaking Bad type of thing.
It's kind of hard to categorize, isn't it?
It is, but it's been super cool, man. I've enjoyed it, and like the artwork of Sam, I've got an idea for you as far as Sam. I'm gonna mention something about him in particular. He's killing it on the artwork. Your whole group, yeah, his artwork's been great. But talk to us a little bit about just Crocodile Black and what that whole experience has been like for you.
And that has been so rewarding. I mean, so the whole thing kind of started with me was during COVID, when the books that were coming out at that time weren't really acknowledging COVID at all. The stuff that was coming out was all like, nobody was distancing in the books. Nobody's wearing a mask. It was all just like, everything's fine. Just, don't pay attention to your lives. Just look over here. And I was kind of let down by that. Like I always prefer to see art that has something to say about the lives we're living in and just takes some braver moves, And I don't know, I missed that. I did see a little bit of that here and there, and whenever it did, I thought it was pretty meaningful. So around that same time, I was listening to a podcast, and there was a story about it was like a personal interest piece about an old guy who died in New York with no family or heirs or nobody he was living with. He was just by himself. And the piece was just about what happens when that happens, basically. And it talked about how they were just clearing out his place and trying to look for next of kin and just sweeping the dude's life away. And this one guy was clearing things out, and he said he found a pair of boots and they were still in the box, like brand new, just bought. And for whatever reason, that image stuck with me, and I kind of imagined a certain kind of person that was in that job. I just imagined this guy like in a COVID mask, like taking out boxes of the old guy's shit. And it was just sad. But I thought, like, what if those boots fit that guy and he just kept them? And I kind of went down that rabbit hole. I was like, what happens next? And like, what might that mean for that person? Or I don't know, like slowly for whatever reason, sometimes I'll hear a story or even just hear like a title or something, like a title of a book or some little phrase or just an image that just sticks in my head, and for whatever reason, it just kind of catches. And the story kept kind of evolving and changing and getting more interesting until it became this whole thing about this, a kind of story about the Great Resignation that happened during COVID, where everyone started leaving their lives behind, like leaving their shit jobs behind or their college degree they never really wanted to pursue in the first place. Like, man, fuck this, the world's ending. I want to do the thing I want to do.
Yeah.
And everyone started quitting and everything. I was like, what if I just started imagining this loser who's living at home and hated his life, hated what he was doing, hates his job, hates his dad. They're all sheltering in place at home and super stressed out about it. Just gets fed up and just leaves and goes back. So anyway, I just imagine this guy delivering groceries through an app and finding this dead guy at home. And he just kind of keeps that secret to himself. Like it's something that he has that no one else can have. And like he just kind of gives him this shady little thrill. And he's wearing those boots and he keeps thinking about them. And he goes home and eventually he just kind of throws his hands up. He's like, screw this. And he goes back and he just kind of takes the dude's identity. Like no one knows he's dead. No one but him. And that became this whole thing in my head that played out and became this really creepy but meaningful story that just had to be told. Like my favorite stories are always the one that just kind of just crawl up your throat and out of you. Like I demand to be told. Like this was one of those for me. And doubly so when I found Som. At the time he was going by his full name, Somnath Pal. He's this artist that Ram V, my friend, has worked with a little bit. He did like a short with him or something. And but mostly Sam was like a filmmaker. He's involved in film and animation and things overseas. But this is the first like full length comic he's ever done. But his artwork was so amazing, and it's just everything that he does on his own when he's just fucking around online. It's all stuff about it's like the grotesque, intruding on reality. That's kind of his signature thing. You'll see a man and a woman kissing and there's some kind of crazy cosmic horror coming out of the place where their faces meet, or this guy like smoking as he's going down the road and the smoke is becoming this other thing, or God, what's another one that he does? Somebody listening to music and the music through the headphones is changing him. He just has this amazing way of just transforming the mundane into this horrific thing that is hard to even imagine. And that is just exactly what I needed for the story. I wanted somebody who had these boots just stuck in their head and couldn't stop thinking about them. He doesn't even really know why, but he's got this past too. He's got these repressed memories from some kind of trauma when he's a kid we don't know about yet. And over time, we sort of put together what happened. And man, just seeing Som bring all that to life with his completely unique art style that nobody else in the world is doing. It was just a marriage made in heaven, man. I could not be happier with that book, and I can't wait for it all to be done and out there. I'm so stoked for you to see the last page.
Yeah.
And like you've been saying, Som really brings a different Like, I don't know if there's anything I could compare it to. Like, it's interesting that you say he's a filmmaker, because all the comparisons I pull, like, and think of are film or like highly produced TV series. Like, it's almost like if that first season of True Detective did actually tip all the way into the supernatural.
Like The Thing or something like that. Yeah, like it's weird. Yeah.
And I loved it for you because it really felt like you do a great job of introducing this kind of folklore and almost high fantasy element. And I feel like that transferred really well into a kind of interesting concept of horror. And it worked really well for you took your strengths from that into this kind of horror, weird, grotesque book, and it worked really well. And it's interesting that you say you're excited for it to be done. I'm sure Frank and Shane and I are wondering, is there any plans to possibly come back to this world? Are you allowed to say?
Honestly, I'd love to.
And what does that look like?
I would love to do more. Sorry, what were you saying, Paul?
I was just going to say, and what does that look like, either in reality or hypothetically speaking?
Man, I don't know. There's a couple different directions we could go. I don't want to spoil how it ends, but there are a couple characters we could follow for the next arc.
Cool.
See, that's great.
That's great. There is a very clear ending here. Like there's an ending at number 5. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not at all a cliffhanger. So if this is all there ever is, it will feel complete.
Okay.
But it does lead into other possibilities. I did want to leave the door just open enough in case we want to do more. There are a couple of people that have more stories to tell. So we'll see what fans want, you know? I mean, I'll tell you one thing, whenever I go to cons or do a signing or anything, I always get multiple questions about, hey, is there going to be more Last God? And that matters to me, man. I want to, like, the fact that people want more.
I want more Last God.
I mean,
yeah, they're great.
I mean, I do too. I want to do more. Ricardo does too. And the fact that people are always asking about it, I want to do more. I'll say that I feel like we, like DC, Black Label, and me collectively all kind of dropped the ball on the way that book was put out at the time. I kind of wanted there to be a first trade of the first arc. And the fact that we didn't get that, coupled with the fact that I didn't really know shit about comics marketing at the time, we didn't do enough to really push that book after it came out. It was a good, healthy push at the beginning. And then after that, it was kind of left to its own devices. So it was just a steady attrition the whole way it was out. And it was like 12 issues. So by the end, it wasn't selling that well because we were not renewing the push. You know, there was no trade to give it a bump.
Right.
It would have been great if we'd had a proper trade after that 6th issue, or if we'd really grabbed onto all the like D&D fans who were into it. There's opportunities that were missed, in my opinion, because there's like just the bandwidth for the marketing team and for the creators and everybody. So it wasn't like there's nobody in DC that's just banging the drum like, man, we got to have more Last God, because to them, they saw declining interest. But what I see was a marketing failure. Right. And now whenever I'm facing the public at all, they're always asking me about Last God fucking every time.
Yeah.
So I really want to do more of that. If there's a similar reaction to Crocodile Black, and I have no idea if there will be or not. I mean, I would love to do more, but I also have other stories I want to tell. So it just depends on what readers want, man. That matters to me. So we'll see how it ends. I want you guys to see how number 5 ends up.
I'm excited.
And I want to see how you feel about it. Like, man, I can't wait to see more with this character or this character, or if you're just like super happy where it wrapped up.
Okay.
Because I only got so many years in me, and I want to know what readers want. If they want to see more with those characters or just something completely new, I'm down to do both.
I mean, I'll definitely reach out and let you know what I'm thinking. But your sentiments on the continuation of it are similar to that of Patrick Horvath's for Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. He was like,
that book's cool.
He was like, it has an ending. But if I could come back to that world, I have things for it. But if it doesn't, then I'm happy with the way it ended.
There's a window to where it could go on.
He's like, if that's it, I'm happy with where it ended up, which has got to be a nice feeling.
It's the best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is nice to know, like there was like Warlords of Appalachia. I really wanted to come back to that world at the time. I had a lot of stories set up for that. That would have been great to do. And in fact, we kind of talked about coming back to do more, because I mean that was all about, that whole thing was this big hypothetical, like what could happen if Trump won? Because I wrote it back when nobody expected Trump to win. And the whole thing started coming out on shelves like in October 2016, and that was all about this crazy not post, but well, actually, yeah, like kind of post political division America, like after we were as divided as we could possibly be, and there's been a civil war, and this dude's been in office forever now, and now that Trump was running again, we talked about doing another volume of that show,
Sure,
or that book, but ended up doing other stuff. Honestly, we kind of ended up doing Crocodile Black instead.
I mean, we'll take it
because now Jonas, like Marvel's all over Jonas's shit now. Like everyone want the artist for Warlords.
Mm-hmm.
But for this one, I wanted it to have an ending that I could be happy with. If the truck with my name on it got me,
right.
Like if this is all we ever got, I want to be happy with this.
Well, you're talking about Marvel and Jonas kind of scooping him up. I think we're probably in a 9 to 12 month window where DC is going to be scooping up Psalm. And I think that they're going to be, Patricio Del Peche, and you work with Becca Carey as well. They're dealing with Becca Carey works on Radiant Black and Rogue Sun, and then Del Peche is doing Void Rivals, the colorist for Void Rivals. So you've got some. It's a good squad, man. It's a good lineup you got there.
Oh, they're awesome, man. All respect for all those people. I don't know why. I'm always really jazzed to work with a new letterer that's like trying out new tricks and stuff that I haven't seen before. We did some things in I think it might have been issue 3 where he goes, when he goes in after the pharmacist in issue 3.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see that I asked Becca to kind of try to match that same grotesquerie that Sam was bringing to the art and the letters. And when he's reading, we the reader are reading Leo's supposed journal entries, while Danny is like thinking them as he's like walking in to kill this guy, and he's like talking about how people don't see me at all; they see the uniform. Like, look out, bad guys! Here comes fucking freedom, and like that red scratchiness that you see from the crocodile faces is kind of over the lettering too. Mm-hmm. Like you see Leo's, you see the person that Danny imagines Leo to be kind of intruding on Danny's brain. And oh God, it's so dope. Becca just nailed it. I love what you did with the lettering. Whenever I see find a new letterer that I'm working with, that's trying new stuff I've never seen in lettering before, I just love that. I don't know. It's just really,
Pettit did some cool stuff with in the Incredible Hulk in that run, and that shines through.
Thanks. Corey's been really game to try new stuff too.
And I think the last thing about Crocodile Black, I'm blanking now that I'm going to say it. But no, we love Crocodile Black, and I would be very excited to see more, but happy to see it wrap up with the way you want it to wrap up.
I know.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I know, Phil. I know that stuff is coming in waves as far as, and we're going to talk about the all-in stuff. And I mean, I'm just putting it out there because I was trying to speak it into existence that you'd take over Justice League eventually. Because I know that, and I know I've been bothering you about that for probably 2 years.
Hey, dude, I'm not gonna say no. I am really happy I got the chance to do the Batman book first.
Yeah, and we are too.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, when the Batman book came along, I was like, man, I'm not gonna say no to that. I've been low on bandwidth, but that kind of thing. The fact that it's Batman, but also the fact that it's another father-son story about a very different father-son pairing that I got to do with Superman and John. That's if I have to give up another book to make that work, I would.
Sure.
Because Superman and Batman were always my guys growing up. And Anders my son was always such a massive Batman fan. And now it's Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. He's got like this list of favorites. But when he was real little, it was just all Batman all the time.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
I've got these little videos. I'm kind of, man, I would love to put them online. I might yet. I don't know. Like he would kind of get together when he was like 3, and we just like workshop ideas. Like, okay, what if we did this? And he would just give me all these ideas that are totally off the wall bonkers, like just little kid ideas that were so fun. And the fact that I get to do that now, man, yeah, awesome. I was not gonna say no to that shit ever.
I'm pitching the thing for the All-In Initiative, though, Phil. I'm pitching this for you. I don't know if I'm going to speak it into existence. I don't know who I got to talk to again. I'm going to get at. you and Sam doing a Swamp Thing book.
Ooh, that would be that
Because
would
you're
be cool.
think I think about like the horror effects and everything. I love Nick Klein; he's amazing. But I think your relationship that you've developed with Sam through this Crocodile Black thing, and you've shown the way you've written Incredible Hulk, for you guys to do thinking about Sam drawing Swamp Thing is like ridiculous.
Yeah, that would be great.
I hadn't thought about that.
The word bubbles on that one would be absolutely insane.
I'll call some people. No.
Yeah, dude.
Frank's got the connects.
Sure.
Could call people. Who, me?
That'd be awesome.
There's nothing I can do
about
about
that. More work, and he's gonna, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
You know, and thinking about it, I'm not sure if you knew already the last time you were here, but I feel like we talked about your desire to do a Batman and Robin book, and you may have been keeping that from us.
He couldn't say anything.
Or you got it after the fact. I don't know, but I'm gonna say that we spoke it into existence, and we're doing the same thing right now. That's the angle I'm gonna take on it.
It was kind of around that same time. I honestly don't remember if I knew yet or not. I mean, I'm doing another thing. There's another book I've been working on for a long time that's been slowly coming together. It's not going to be out until next year, and you guys are going to be stoked about that. I can't talk about that yet because we're still way ahead of it. But
he's done that like 9 times, though. I'm sure there was. He's going, there's something coming up. You're going to dig it, and of course it comes out when everybody digs it. But he's just like, I can't say nothing about it now.
Well, yeah,
it does seem like every time we have you on, it's like just wait, and then it pops up, and we're like, well, that was not disappointing. That was
he's telling us there's stuff you can't. But like it happened. Like it was last time or the time before. He was like, I get in trouble. I say too much.
Say anything.
But I'm talking to you guys. I start saying too much.
I talk too much. But now we got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So Crocodile Black's wrapping up. Green Lantern's done. Batman and Robin's about to hit. Hulk is ongoing. We got Hellhunters just got announced.
Mm-hmm.
So we got tons of shit to talk about.
So
write that down, Frank.
Regarding the Batman thing, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll say when they reach out about Batman, anytime they reach out to me with a new book, like a character that I've not tackled yet, especially. I try to assume that this is going to be the only time I'll ever write this character. Like you never know what happens. Like there'll always be something else down the road.
Sure.
Right.
Like I love Superman, and everyone in DC knows that, and they're very happy with how it turned out. So I think there's a good chance I'll write Superman again. But normally when somebody reaches out like, hey, you want to do Hulk, you want to do James Bond, you want to write whatever, I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of leave it all on the field. Or since Paul and I are brothers in violence, leave it on the cage.
On the cage. On the mat.
I really want to put everything in this book that I want to ever see in a Batman book. So I'm doing that. I mean, one thing that I have often missed, even from runs that I deeply love, I don't see detective stories that often. Like very often it's kind of, they really embrace the superhero nature of Batman, and it's all like lots of visual spectacle and lots of like really cool visual stuff. Because he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. And that to me is as important as everything else. Like if it's just about physical power, he's still just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Batman against Iron Man. If Batman was just any bro with the tech that he uses, up against Iron Man, up against Superman, up against Flash or whoever, he's going to lose every time. The reason Batman's superpower is that he always wins. Batman's superpower is just how prepared he is, how he's willing to do everything that it takes to put himself toe to toe with gods,
Right.
I want to see that. I want to see what makes him so goddamn smart. Like, how does he prepare so completely for everything? How does he handle his training, his nutrition, his mastery of tech? How does he control the city itself? How does he kind of assert control over his allies in ways that are sometimes unpleasant? How does he raise his sons?
Therefore, you have to go to a place of intelligence where you're just going, it's like a puzzle that you got to try to figure out before you write them at that point. Like you need to go to this level where Batman is this great detective that you got to get to this place. Is it hard to do that, or is it?
It is, man. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like it's like this weird inversion of Superman. Like Superman is incredible because he's just the best of us.
Right.
Like how do you write someone who who always knows what the right thing is. Like I'm just a man, like how does Superman is the best of us. So how do I, when people would ask me when I was writing Superman, like, how do you prepare? What are the big Superman runs that you turn to get Superman?
Right.
And obviously I have my Superman runs that I do, deeply admire, but the stuff that I would read to prepare to write Superman was I would read Pulitzer Prize winning journalism. I would try to find, actual journalism that won the Pulitzer that are about socially conscious issues, the kind of stuff that Clark would care about, stuff that Lois Lane might consider a puff piece. Like Lois would write this big expose about, corruption and whatever. Clark would do that too, but Clark would also write a personal interest piece about a homeless guy who died and how amazing he was, how we should all strive to be like him, or about some really selfless thing that happened, or just something to make it to make us better, something to inspire us to be better and do more. And I'd also like study a lot of the the great speeches by the great inspirational speakers, MLK and FDR, and just these are anyway, those are the kind of things I kind of turn to. So you have to make yourself, when you write Superman, you have to kind of make yourself better than you are, which obviously is difficult. But once you get that voice, it's just such a joy to do. Writing Batman, you have to write the guy who's 10 steps ahead of everyone all the time.
Right.
And think about, like, he just, somebody who, when he's fighting or stalking or doing whatever he's doing, he does not waste one iota of effort. He does not burn a single calorie unnecessarily. Like every muscle is only moved when it is needed. Every decision is made with such exacting confidence and precision. So, like, when you very often in the series, I'm using you see like a timestamp, like what time it is, and it's down to like the millisecond.
Oh, interesting.
When he's bringing food to Damien, he talks like, here you go, like, same micronutrients, I upped your carbs a little to compensate for the thing we did earlier. It's just all, you see him like popping pills after the fight. You see him when Bruce is speaking, he speaks like the rest of us. His dialogue is more or less like the rest of us, a little, maybe a little silver spoony kind of. But when Batman is speaking, or when Bruce is speaking and no one else is around, there are almost never any commas anywhere. Every statement is just like a stone. Everything he says, he does not waste a single word. And there's never anything to make the language pretty or elegant. It's just like, here's my statement. Here's the next one. Bruce and Batman speak very differently. So I try to get all that across. I try to make sure that he understands, like, everything he does is to protect Gotham, but also to control Gotham so he can protect it. So anyway, and also I just want to show what kind of father he is. I want to show that he's, Damien is kind of busted and that he doesn't really know how to be a good son. Bruce doesn't know how to be a son or a father.
He's a schizo.
I mean,
for goodness sake.
He's just busted. They both are. They're busted in such similar but different ways, and sewing them together, both trying to do better, both trying to fill the void that Alfred has left, is just so fun and rewarding. And I don't know, man. Like, Batman is so different. This is so completely different from Superman. But you can't just write him like the rest of us. He can't. To me, if he just talked like the rest of us, if he just ate a cheeseburger like the rest of us, if he just if he just relaxed in the chair after a patrol and watched TV a little bit before bed, or those all feel like lies, because he's not like us. He has to. He's a mortal man built out of carbon like the rest of us, but he has made himself this supernatural thing that never loses. What must that be like? What must it be like to be his son? Be fucking awful, I would imagine. Right. Super intense. I mean, God, how many of us have had a hard time living up to our father's expectations, or feel like we did? Now, what if your dad was literally Batman?
What if your dad had beaten up Superman before?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to live up to that. And oh man, it's just such a joy to write. But it's also, I try to put a lot of work into it. Man, it's fun though. There's so much I want to show. The time of Batman's life I was always fascinated with is his walkabout, like when he left Gotham to become Batman, to gather all the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time as a reader where I felt like we had not really seen much of that. It was all this big mysterious time where you didn't see anything. And since then, actually, people have shown a lot of that.
Chip got into that quite a bit.
Saw a lot of that from Tynan. We got some of that from Zdarsky, of course.
Yep.
We've seen bits and pieces of it from Snyder too. And there's a bit that I want to show. So I want to actually show, since it's a Batman and Robin book, I want to show Batman and Robin at similar ages. So there's this new villain that I've introduced to the series called Memento. And I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's his introduction to Gotham helps give Gotham this really like foggy, rainy, just noir kind of feel that I really want Gotham to have. Gotham is not Metropolis. It's not even New York. It's more like Baltimore, the way I depicted in Crocodile Black, but more urban and cramped, and like there's the blimps and all that stuff, like bridges everywhere, and there's the bay. And Memento helps give us that vibe. It's like he's like a cross between Aleister Crowley and Jack the Ripper.
Interesting.
And he's giving like a proper murder mystery, like a vibe almost like Gotham by Gaslight, whereas everything is just kind of gross and urban and scary. And we're going to see almost like you mentioned True Detective. We're going to see almost like a True Detective kind of setup where you see these flashbacks where, how Batman's past is influencing events right now, and how Batman's actions at Damian's age are now influencing, Damian's fate.
Well,
and I just can't wait for y'all to see it.
Yeah, that sounds phenomenal. And the next thing I want to ask you about that is, how did Javier Fernandez come to the project with you? What has it been like collaborating with him? And just what, if anything else, you want to share about the kind of what the direction the art is taking and what the book will look like, sound like, feel like.
Javi is just the perfect. When we were talking about, we were kicking around names, and Ben Mears, my editor, mentioned Javi. And I knew the name, but I hadn't seen his work in a bit. And I looked him up, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot about he did some Nightwing, and it's so great. But if you go back and look through his fan art or commissions, whenever he's just drawing just to screw around, very often is Batman. And God, it's just perfect. He was just born to do this. I could not have asked for, at least for the story that I want to tell right now in Gotham. Javi was just absolutely the perfect choice. I could not be happier with it. There was a list of people we were looking at, but honestly, for me, Javi was always the list. So I could not be happier about him doing it. He came from doing Spawn stuff more recently. He had done a lot of DC stuff before, and then he was doing some Spawn things. Which the only notes we ever gave him on anything when he started giving us pages was that everybody was scowling all the time.
Right.
This guy came from Spawn. It was just, that was like the only residue that we could tell that was from that other book.
That's pretty funny.
But goddamn, his stuff is great, and he really is nailing the action. I mean, he's nailing all of it, but the action scenes. I wanted to write an action scene for the opening of this book that you could only do in a comic. That's so wildly complicated and just impossible to pull off, even with stuntmen, even with CG. That it just has to be in a comic book, and we did that. And Javi obliterated it. I cannot wait. Just the first 10 pages. I put a lot of it on my social media, just like in little teasers, as we were kind of promoting the book leading up into FOC. But man, it's not all up though. I tried to save some of it back because I want everyone to see it, like just all together the day the book comes out. You're not going to fucking believe what Javi gets done on the page. It's insane. So I'm just trying to give him a scene like that in every issue. Like, okay, now what can I do? What can I give him that nobody can actually do physically, that only Batman can do, and only in a drawing? So
Nice.
Javi's got just crazy stuff to work with now. So I'm trying to just honor his talent with these amazing action scenes.
Sweet. Marcus is joining us. He's here at the table.
Marcus has arrived.
Hi.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Yeah.
So
Just talking some Batman here.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
I thought Marcus might have a question.
I'm still just absorbing. Sorry.
So for the Batman and Robin run, do you know, because it's all in, do you know how long the run is going to be? Is it just ongoing? Is that classified? What does that look like?
It's ongoing. I'm going to be on it for hopefully a good bit. The Memento story is going to be going on for whatever reason. I saw one comic retailer put up something about it. This is a 2-issue story. I don't know where they got that. It's actually not going to be much longer than that. I want Memento to be like I want to really give him a proper arc, you know. There's this big mystery about who Memento is, and like some of the stories that inspired this book are stories like Court of Owls and Long Halloween. If I had to pick one book that was a big influence, I guess it would be Long Halloween.
Oh,
That's a good.
I love how it was this mystery
foundation.
that went like this month-to-month mystery, and you still you're never quite sure who the bad guy is. I love that, and the way that they managed to tie in and like bring in all these cameos from different elements of Batman's rogues gallery. You know, I mean, Hush did that too. Hush managed to bring in like all these huge, like his entire rogues gallery and allies, and everybody shows up. Like Superman's in it, Poison Ivy, Joker, Catwoman, everybody shows up. I would love to do that here, except now I am in a shared sandbox in a way that that Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee didn't have to worry about so much. So there are characters that are going to be hard to bring in because they are needed in other books in such a way that kind of pulls them out of commission for my story. We all have to kind of talk. Sometimes there's like a card table. We all sit around and kind of horse trade, like who's going to use who, and we decide who needs a character the most. So there are certain people I would love to use that I think would be kind of shitty to use because they've just been used or super heavy, or they're about to get used in some big meaningful way. So I can't pull out every single bad guy, but I do try to show like a ton of characters from Batman's rogues gallery and just the supporting cast, because I really want this mystery I want people to really try to figure it out, you know, like who this person is and where they come from and what's happening.
So is that like similar to the kind of powwows you'd had to have like with Williamson and Tom Taylor with Superman now, but it's Zdarsky and I would imagine Mark Waid on Justice League and whomever else, probably Dan Waters with Nightwing, talking to all of them about, okay, who are you using? When are we using him? What timestamp is this in the all-in stuff? Is it those guys, maybe others?
It is, it's very much like that. For whatever reason, when I was talking to Josh and Tom all the time about Superman stuff, well, and Wade too, it seems like maybe it was just my book. Mostly it was like when I was using a character, it was just the one character for like an arc or sometimes two. And Josh was similar. Like there's only a couple of characters I'd have to look out for. Like he really wanted Lex and I really wanted Metallo. And then I was introducing somebody new and he was too. But now, for whatever reason, the Gotham group just feels more like dense with bad guys. And there's also more Batman books happening. Like somebody, there's just like a little more on the table that you have to look out for. There's more moving pieces, it seems like, than there was in the Metropolis group.
Is it a little more focused than, let's say, the Dawn of DC stuff? Because I know with Dawn of DC, it felt like it was everyone, okay, let's launch everything, and then whatever sticks, you know, just like pasta, if it sticks to the wall, it's good. If it doesn't, then we'll just drop it and let it go. Or is the all-in a little more focused?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, anytime there's a big like line-wide initiative, there's going to be some elements of that. Like, I mean, for me, even more so than Dawn of DC, I'd say like the New 52. I know it's going back some, but when that happened, it was like everything's new, nothing but number ones. The one drawback to that, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a publicity guy. I don't sell shit. I just write. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, but from my simplistic, humble view, the problem with that approach is that there's going to be a lot of really kick-ass books that kind of fall under the radar because it kind of forces everyone to buy everything all at once, and nobody's going to do that.
Right.
So then you've got these awesome books, like you've got whatever, I, Vampire or something that might be awesome. but it's never going to get the same kind of audience that, Superman or Wonder Woman get.
Yeah.
So there
Kind of
are
like with
problems with that
Green
approach.
Arrow.
That was a thing that happened with a lot of these books. I mean, the two things that I would say that flew under everyone's radar for the past almost year is Williamson's Green Arrow and Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy.
Incredible.
It seems like they're two books that everybody's like, you're not reading that? I mean, you should be.
It's really good.
And I think one of the cool things about the All Initiative now is that, it sounds like it's been, I think Williamson and Scott Snyder did an interview together, I think right around San Diego Comic-Con, and they're saying about how this is 2 years in the making of putting this all together, and there's jumping on points, but Phil, we aren't getting all the number ones. There's not reset points. It's like this is a place for everybody to kind of get on board if they choose. There's new, fresh story arcs and everything, new creators with certain titles, but we're getting some like Willow Wilson is still going to be with Poison Ivy, Zdarsky's still doing Batman. Dan Waters is going to be taking over Nightwing, obviously, but then Taylor moves to detective,
and so you're back to probably working with him a little bit, for the Batman, just like you were with Superman.
Then Jeff Lemire too.
Actually, yeah, exactly. So yeah, let's see. How can we talk about this? So it's not like after a certain amount of time in comics, there's so many different storylines happening and they all tie together. It does become pretty daunting to know where to jump in.
Yeah.
I think the only big, aside from the absolute universe stuff, which is obviously its own thing, and that's like, a fresh start, like boom, there's nothing before this is number one, and here's where it begins.
Yep.
Everything else, there are some other number ones coming too, but for the most part, it's just kind of this line-wide agreement that this is where new stories, new styles, new approaches all begin here to get everyone really excited to see what the new kind of reset is for DC. It's a reset in the sense that we want every retailer to be able to give any new reader, if someone comes in and be like, my kid really likes Flash, and we want them to be able, that owner to be able to be like, this is a great place to start right here. This is like a proper jumping on point. Right. And you don't have to read any of the other shit that came before that if you don't want to. Here's other arcs from before, but this is a great place. We all want that. Like everybody on their books want to give everyone a fresh start. Even though my first issue of Batman and Robin is 14, it feels very much like a number one. Like you can, if you read the Josh Williamson and Simone run before mine, this will honor that story, but it's also like a proper new beginning.
Right.
So I know there's a lot of books that are kind of in that same boat where this is just an opportunity for anyone who wants to jump into DC. Like October is the month to do that. October, November.
Nice.
Well, Waters and Nightwing, that's probably a similar situation, I would imagine. And
cool.
and
I'm a big fan of Dan.
Yeah, he's been great.
Dan is a fellow traveler too, Paul. He does jujitsu.
Oh, very cool. Dope. Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. He's kicking butt on Destro, by the way. I don't know if
the Destro series has been ridiculous, man.
Yeah, that's really good. So he's part of that whole, that whole energy.
Dan told me this great story. God, what was it? There's a guy, the guy from Narcos. Hold on, sorry, I'm gonna IMDb while we're talking.
Pedro Pascal?
No, the white dude, like the guy from like the CIA agent or FBI, whatever he was, or DEA.
Holbrook.
There's a 3-letter agent from the States, a white guy with blonde hair and a mustache.
I'd have to look it up too.
What's that guy's name?
He's a boy.
Stand by. Google break.
Google break.
Well, apparently he's trying to like learn jiu-jitsu, or maybe he's already kind of doing it, but he walked into
Boyd Holbrook.
He just did like a walk-in.
Boyd Holbrook.
He did a walk-in. What is it?
Boyd Holbrook.
Holbrook, right?
Boyd Holbrook,
that's it. So he walked in. I guess he did a walk-in. Man, Holbrook, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry.
He is no,
but it is a good story. He did a walk-in at Dan's gym, and they rolled, and I guess Dan like really like handled him, and between Dan and his friends out there, Holbrook became like a verb.
Oh no!
Oh, okay. You got Holbrook.
You got Holbrook.
Oh, no.
Proper Holbrook.
No, that's brutal.
Wow.
He's one of the Reavers in Logan, I think. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That really
yeah.
puts a
You're totally right. You're
he
totally
puts
right.
a wet
Yeah.
blanket on that character. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
It's tough, right?
That's fun though. That's pretty funny.
So, anyway, I shouldn't be telling stories like that, but
No, it's
but I
great.
like Dan. Dan and I get along extremely well, and he's also got real punk rock cred too. Like he really knows a lot about punk. We talk music a lot.
Holbrook was in an
Yeah,
Indiana
Dan-
Jones movie. He'll be all right.
Yeah, he'd be-
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he doesn't need
Yeah,
our.
he'll be all
he
right.
doesn't need our respect.
yeah. Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
As far as the All In Initiative goes, though, I mean, have you been able to kind of check out some of the other stuff? Is there something that you're like, man, you guys should be reading this, or maybe with the absolute titles? Is there anything that's like stuck out to you? To you're like, wow, I mean, you guys should see
Honestly,
that.
I'm excited for all of it. I have not. I'm not as caught up as I should be on what's coming. I've been just under a tsunami of work
Sure.
for years. I can't get out from under it. I'm about to get out of the Army, which is going to help a lot. I dropped papers. I'm about to retire from the Army.
Oh, very nice.
Nice,
Congratulations.
nice. Yes,
So
absolutely.
Congrats.
thank you. I appreciate it. So that'll be like I'll hit 20 years next year, and then I'll be out. So I'll have more bandwidth to give to this kind of thing.
Nice.
Right now, I have not had time to catch. Like most of the comics reading that I'm doing is for like research for the stuff I'm writing.
All right.
And that's a bummer. I hate being in that place where the only stuff I'm reading is for work, not just because I know it's great and I want to read it.
Yeah.
Right.
I still buy new books, and sometimes I will like take a little time to read them. Like most of the reading I do now is either like listening to an audiobook in the car, or when I'm working out, or I read to my son every night, and so I'm basically reading the books that he reads.
Right.
But I need to make more time to read all the new shit that they're coming out with. Usually I'll ask, like when I'm doing a thing, I'll be like, hey, can you send me this run of this, this run by this creator? And they will, and then I'll read that. But I'll tell you what I would love to be reading. I really want to read Dan's upcoming work on Nightwing.
Mm.
I want to read Tom's upcoming scripts for Detective. I want to read the Absolute stuff. I did read Absolute Batman 1, and that's really good.
Mm.
Cool.
That's good to hear.
And that comes out the same day as Batman and Robin, actually. Batman and Robin
Nice.
14 and Absolute Batman 1 come out on, I want to say, October 9th.
There's a day somewhere in there in October that is absolutely going to demolish a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think it's the 9th or the 16th.
Yeah.
There's like a bunch of
October's
stuff
going to be
like
a
that.
rough month for
Yeah.
a great month for comics.
For
A
readers.
rough month
Well,
for
also-
my
month.
pocketbook.
Yeah, I'll send you a PDF if it helps.
Thank you.
It will.
But
All right.
I'm also reading stuff like Jason Aaron and I've gotten real chummy, and I know
Nice.
it's
Oh,
coming
very
with
cool.
the Absolute Batman. I've not seen the Absolute Superman 1 yet. That's coming out. I want to say that might be hitting in November. It's either late October or November.
Okay.
But that looks dope as hell. Rafa Sandoval's doing it. He wrote, he drew a lot of my action stuff towards the end. He's
did, yep.
fucking killer too.
All the
that's all
dudes
gonna
who
be
were on
great.
your Superman run are like turning into superstars. Like it
Yeah.
was awesome
know.
that all those guys were on the run.
It's been awesome to see, man.
Like-
I know Daniel Perry's been doing the Wonder Woman stuff with Tom, and
Killing it.
like now
Tim's
like Rafa.
Tim's was with Aaron on the Action Comics, and Tim's did your the one who fell with you on Superman before Tom took it, right?
No, actually, I know what you're talking about. He was drawing Son of Kal-El for Tom.
That's what it was. But still,
But I was actually with Scott Godlewski on that. I did
that's
two
right.
issues with Phil Hester on this. Like my very first thing after Future State was this 2-issue. The editor at the time, Jamie Rich, wanted to do a 2-issue like crossover thing between Action and Superman, and that ended up being Phil Hester on that, which was great. And then I did 3 issues with Scott Godlewski, who had done Future State House of L with me. And Scott crushed all that shit. I love how dynamic all of Scott's work is. I mean, honestly, I know that he doesn't have like the name of some of these other guys that I've been working with, but Scott was just a joy to work with. And he did these 2 pages of my these 2 pages that I wrote of Superman. Like in that One Who Fell arc, there's a thing where Superman and John are flying through space. And whenever I have an arc and they're in space, I try to honor the concept, the notion that you can't hear up there. There's no speech. So you hear Superman's thoughts, and he can't talk to John, so he just kind of pulls back and just watches him fly and just thinks about how much he loves his son and remembers the days when he was little and all that. And Scott drew those pages, so I've got those are still my banner on Facebook, and I still look at them all the time. And I don't know, he just nailed it, and I don't know, it's like a love letter to my kid, So
Right.
I've got a lot of affection for Scott and his work. But yeah, anyway, sorry I digressed there, but that was
No.
that was that arc.
That's the exact digression we wanted.
Nice.
Cue
Scott's a great dude.
digression.
He's a great dad too. Actually, he talks about his kid a lot.
That's well, and that's like we talk about the fantasy element of your books or the horror or the high concept. Almost every single one of your books, at the core of it is a relationship. Superman was with his son, Batman will be with his son, Hulk is with Hulk, and there's going to be a ton of relationships in Hell Hunters. Is there anything you want to share about us with that? About the artist that's on that, what the story is going to look like?
December, it's coming out.
December.
Limited run. Yeah,
What
yeah.
can you share?
Oh,
The lineup, did you get to, like you asked Russell about X-Men, Frank, did you get to have like a draft and pick which characters you wanted to be in it? How did that work?
Yeah, there was never any question about the characters I wanted in that book. I always wanted. So the relationship that I'm getting into in Hell Hunters is my relationship with the Nazis and how much I hate those guys.
There you go.
So it's really like it's a straight up Nazi kill fantasy. I mean, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I'm sorry if that's a disappointment to anybody, but this is what I want to do.
hey,
so good.
It's just kind of like those classic, Captain America stories. Sometimes that straight ahead,
up.
That straight up symmetric sort of,
Exactly.
that the goodies
This
versus
is-
the baddies. That works.
it.
That's
Straight up.
a good time.
Yeah, dude.
That's a good time.
Man, Nazis are nature's perfect villain.
Yeah.
You can mow them down. You don't have to feel bad about it. Better than zombies or killer robots or anything.
Very satisfying. I agree.
That's right.
Satisfying.
If you need cannon fodder, you cannot kill it. You cannot be a good Nazi.
No.
Oh yeah.
You can't
So,
kill too many
agreed.
Nazis.
Nope.
Yeah.
True.
So anyway, that's what I wanted. So it's kind of like try to toe the line between like the old school like war action movies that kind of just fun like popcorn films, but also like the dark, like demonic kind of twist on it that you get from Mignola stuff.
Oh, okay.
So there is a supernatural element to make it all feel very genre and comic booky. I want it to feel, it can't just be, it can be, but it's not. I didn't want to just do a book that's just straight up a war book. It is very much a war book, and they all talk kind of like they did back then, in my view. I wanted it to feel like a little dated in the language, but also kind of charming, and just fun. Like when men were men, you're kind of chewing a cigar, and like it's just this is a really fun style to the dialogue.
My kind of book. Yeah, I like that.
So it's gonna be really fun. But I also wanted there to be like a really dark genre element to it. So there is that in this. Like there's this. I don't want to spoil too much, but they're facing a thing called the Unhallowed or Unhallowed, like with an A, that I'm very excited to show everyone. Yeah, but as far as the cast, man, I knew I wanted to see Ghost Rider 44 because he was kind of the point of the whole thing. I kind of had this idea the whole thing is like a revenge story. So we have a setup almost like The Crow, where this airborne infantry guy is killed, and then he rises from the grave. He's raised by the spirit of vengeance to avenge himself. But the spirit of vengeance also has selfish motives, as we'll see in the story. Like it's not just a gift of vengeance; it's also his own vengeance for reasons that we'll discover. So got to have Ghost Rider 44 in there. I guess that's spun out of the pages of Hulk. I mean, when I put Ghost Rider 44 in Hulk, a big part of that was I was kind of like soft pitching the book that I really wanted to do.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask, was Hell Hunters decided on before that, or did you do Ghost Rider 44 as a
It was decided on by me, but nobody else was really sold on it until that book came out. And I mean, Nick just drew him. He just looks so fucking cool.
Killer.
Yeah.
And people really responded to it. Like somebody bought the first drawing of Ghost Rider 44 in a comic at auction for like a stupid number. And the number was so high that it actually got back to Marvel. Like, damn, somebody just paid out for this thing. Like people really like this character. And that's when, before that, I had already kind of pitched this story to CB on a panel live at New York Comic Con. the year previous. I talked, like, somebody was like, "What else would you like to write in the future?" And I was like, "I'll tell you what I want to write." And I told them basically the soft idea for Hell Hunters, and I already had like character sketches from Jonas Scharf like on my phone. So I told CB about it right then on the panel, and he was like, "Approved." Like, all right, I'm gonna hold you to it. And then later I showed him those drawings, and I've just like slowly setting this up for like a long time. In fact, they asked me a long time ago. I was approached about writing a Ghost Rider story, and I was really underwater at that time. I didn't really have the time for it, and I would have had to given up another book to make it work. And when they asked me about it, I was like, "Man, I'd love to. If we do." I had Nazis on the brain back then too, very much, and I said, "I'd really love to do I had seen what Jason Aaron did, setting up showing that there had been Ghost Riders of all these different time periods and all the different takes that there had been over the years. Like, I really want to do like a Steve McQueen, like, World War II Harley Davidson kind of take, like him in the European theater in World War II." And it came back like, "We'd love to have you on this book, but we kind of like the so-and-so really wants it to be Johnny Blaze." I'm like, "Well, I'm busy."
Yeah, sure.
But since then, that story in my head has kind of grown, and it kind of became more of like a team book in my head. And so I've been kind of slowly putting it together. But yeah, it always had to be Ghost Rider, like a new character. It had to be Logan for sure. It had to be Nick Fury with 2 eyes. It had to be Peggy Carter, because I fucking love that character. It had to be Bucky, but not as like, young man strapping Bucky from the movies, and not as like, Robin Bucky from the old days, but like Ed Brubaker, like psycho teenager Bucky.
Nice.
Where he's like Black Ops Bucky with
Right.
Cap's not looking, Like that's
Nice.
what I really wanted. I want a team of guys that are so psycho and
Yeah.
scary that it's not really a team that Cap belongs on. That's what I want. I want it to be like a scary psycho team. They're like doing like wet work stuff in World War II, stuff that Cap would clutch his pearls at.
Sure.
And when I saw the team, though, I was talking to my editor, Jordan White, about it. And Jordan was like, like, nobody really has powers except like visual, like, burning shit down powers, except Ghost Rider. Because I mean, Logan didn't even have his claws back then yet, really, that he not that he knows about.
Mhm.
Right.
So we kind of started thinking some more about what else we could do with it. Like, I guess that's true. There's stuff that we could do with like having Ghost Rider kind of empower the others. But the more I kind of thought about it, I was like, well, I mean, Jason Aaron introduced the Soldier Supreme, Sebastian Zardos, who is also a World War II era character. And he's like Dr. Strange of 1944. And I thought that'd be kind of fun. And we don't know much about that character yet. So I did introduce one more character to the team, just kind of for grins. And honestly, that was kind of the missing piece. That really
great.
makes the whole
Sweet.
thing
Hey, you
work.
need that. Like, a little more
So
supernatural.
it's pretty
drama.
fun, man. And God, writing their dialogue is so unbelievably fun, man. Like, Logan is so crazy, and Bucky's the craziest one of all of them. Plus, but he's still a kid too, so he still cries about shit, and
Sure.
That's good.
like he's kind of, you see him kind of sulking, and he's like, what's wrong with you, kid? And he's like, Dum Dum took my ears. It's like, you're like
Sergeant Dum Dum.
Dum Dugan catches Bucky taking Nazi ears.
That's
Took
funny.
my ears.
And so he takes him away. He's like, "You do that again, I'm going to tell Cap."
Oh
And
man.
so you catch him kind of catch like sulking. So you get to tell a story with this. It's like he's a teenager, but he's also like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so.
And that would be just that's a great like added like element of tension. Just
Yeah, that's
that
a
tension
weird-
between
What?
Cap, who's the the straight who walks the straight and
Yeah.
narrow, and then you have this psycho team, and you're just like, and you just see
Yeah.
kind of Cap just being that guy who has to tacitly put up with it, even
Yeah.
though he's not, he doesn't he morally objects to everything they're doing. That's great.
Yeah, it's a really fun. It's a really fun team. So I don't have the bandwidth to write like an ongoing Hell Hunters for like years and years. But what I would love to do with this series, if possible, and I've not even mentioned this to Marvel yet, but the vision for this is instead of making it like a TV series that never ends, we make it more like a movie, like with an ending, and then we do a sequel. like more like the way Brubaker and Phillips do their Reckless series.
Yes, absolutely.
There's an art. It was like one like half-inch trade,
Right.
and it's dope, and then it's over, and then next year you get another one.
Right.
You know, like that's how I would like to do. I would love to have the whole thing like finished. Exactly. I would love to have the whole thing like finished before it even gets drawn.
Right.
And then just do these chapters where every one is just like this perfect little diamond. And not even necessarily the same characters in all of them. Like I want to have the flexibility to introduce a new character, to take one away, somebody gets transferred, somebody dies or disappears, or they're used in some other arc. Like, because we know what happens with Cap and Bucky back then. So what happens if Bucky eventually gets taken off the table?
Right.
To make it tie in a little tighter with Marvel history, you know.
That would make it a lot.
Anyway,
that would make it a lot
super dope. Yeah.
super interesting. Yeah, that would make it.
idea.
Yeah.
Dude.
And
really
Marvel, it's prime time for Marvel to have something a little more interesting like that too.
That would be very
great.
interesting.
Well, it would.
I hope so, man. It'd be fun to kind of open up this whole new like corner of the Marvel U. That's not exactly like an Ultimate Universe thing where it's like this whole different, like everything's all different, but
No.
more like a time period that hasn't been explored as much. I mean, there's been a good bit of World War II stuff, but it would be fun to just, I don't know, like establish this new team, like the Defenders or something, but we just keep coming back and revisiting it. And,
Right.
I don't know,
Yeah,
it'd be really fun. Maybe
it's-
bring in a new character now and again.
It sounds like almost like Thunderbolts or Suicide Squad or something like that, but like in different time periods
Right.
with kind of this cast of maybe not
Insanity.
all A-list characters who are
Misfits,
more
but
kind of have more kind of edge to them.
Right.
Yeah, like Marvel's Inglorious Bastards.
Yes,
There you go.
that would be dope.
Perfect.
That
Yeah.
would be dope.
Collecting ears.
Well, I can't sign anything off for Marvel, but I sign off on that.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go.
So yeah.
We wanted to
Great
spend a little bit of time talking about Incredible Hulk, what that whole process has been like, that run. I mean, loved it. I mean, it's Nick.
Thanks.
You've done an incredible job. The pairing between you and Nick Klein and these characters and the storytelling, it's really cool.
The
And,
horror is unbelievable.
I mean,
my God.
it's a horror comic. But it's very enjoyable,
Sure is.
and we really I've really appreciated it. I mean, I've told you this before, and I think I've told all these guys I don't like horror movies, but for some reason I'm weird. I love horror comics, and I love that book, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. I do owe you guys an apology. Like I really wanted to get you guys in the book, but they kind of poo-pooed it because they know that you guys like exist.
Well, that's cool.
Okay.
Hey.
I'm gonna have to do it more sneaky like, but I will get you in that book. I really wanted you to be in like the Vegas chapter, obviously.
Okay.
But we'll get it done. We'll get it done.
Well, that's what I
Nice,
told
nice.
Frank. I was like, good.
There is a good reason to get back to Vegas too in the story. So hopefully I'll try
Very
again.
cool.
But even if that doesn't work, if you end up showing up, Louisiana, whatever, we'll get you in there.
We'll take it.
Marvel Comics knows you exist.
Yeah, they don't
They said,
exist. So they're
no.
like, oh my
They
God,
were like,
we
they
gotta
were
pay
like,
them now?
no,
What the heck?
not these guys.
No, it's just,
No, I'm
they
kidding.
just don't want to. Yeah, they just don't want to be. There was another time where I got in trouble for that, where I tried to write some of my friends in there, and I wrote them in by name, but I had to prove that they did not look like that. Like they have to be able to say, like
No, that
Any,
makes
you
100%
know,
sense.
any similarities to people living or dead is entirely, bullshit. So I'll have to do more on the sly.
Yeah. Well, I will say, that having read the latest, it's really good. Like I wasn't expecting Vegas to have such a. It almost looked like there was one panel. I didn't bring it, so forgive me. But it almost looked like there might have been a Peter David cameo in there, because it looked like Peter David was
I know
like
the guy
holding
you're
the cell phone when Hulk walks into the casino, and I was like, "Is that Peter David? It looks like Peter David holding a cell phone."
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I saw that too. I kind of wanted to.
I didn't bring it. Oh my God, I
gotta-
feel bad. I feel bad, but I was like, wait a minute, that looks like Peter David right there. Hopefully he's doing well.
I gotta support that GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, how's he doing? I mean, that was one of the things I've kind of lost track of. I know he had he was here during one of our last amazing cons a couple of cons ago, and he was good, and then all of a sudden he fell ill, and then we had the GoFundMe, and then we haven't really heard much lately.
And
Hopefully
I don't know actually. I don't know Peter really.
Okay.
I know his work, of course. We're like we know who we are, but I don't had never like hung out or anything. But I see the little updates, and sometimes I'll see that he's not doing well, and I'll try to give him a little bump. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask around. We're about to do Baltimore Con here, and I'm sure that he has a lot of friends there, so I'll ask and see how he's doing. But I've been putting out a what's it called? Heroes Initiative thing. Oh, like a little thing on the table.
Okay.
And I know that some of that stuff goes to him and creators in similar situations, but I'll ask around, see how he's doing.
Yeah, because I remember reading him. He was super funny, and like, oh my God, his legacy on Hulk specifically, and then of course X Factor and other books is just phenomenal. And I mean, even the later stuff that he did, like the latest Fantastic Four kind of Hulk thing that he did before we got news of him being sick. Even that was great. So, I mean, definitely want to keep him in our hearts and prayers on that.
Yeah, definitely.
But
his impact on Marvel is huge.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I saw that panel. I was like, what's? I thought it was great. But it sounds like a very strong. Where it is, not to give anything away, it feels very strong. Like it's going to be a very climactic point in the book. So.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So Nick is on issues 17, 18, and 19. And 19 is Legacy issue 800.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's going to be like an oversized issue. So Nick has a few extra pages to play with in that issue.
Okay.
And that's only the case because Nick asked for him. Nick was like, "Hey, I'd love to do a couple of big fuck you spreads in this book if we could." And,
Nice.
And they told him what he wanted to do with it, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll do that."
Because I know sometimes those legacy issues have like multiple writers on it. Did you guys get most of that to yourself, or is it pretty broken up across different creators?
You know, I'm not always part of those conversations. I know that there's going to be. I think our chapter is 24 pages, I believe.
Wow.
And I know there is at least one other story in the back. I think two. I think there are two shorts in the back, I believe. At least one for sure.
2 backups.
And there's also going to be like a Remembrance of Eldest page in there as well.
Oh, okay.
Like at the end of every little arc, I try to have that remembrance page about a specific monster or something. And that's 19 is definitely one of those. So,
nice.
So technically 25 pages from me, and then whoever else is in the book, I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I want to say there's a She-Hulk story in there.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's one more. I'm not sure if that ever got done, but there should have been another one too.
Yeah. Did they turn up the tempo on Hulk too? Because it seems like maybe
there was 2 this month.
Yeah, there was 2 this month, and I'm like, well, was there always 2?
I asked
him, what's happening here?
Well, I was talking to Phil at the beginning of the month, and I was like, I think there's a Hulk issue the week that we're gonna have you on, and Phil's like, I don't know. He's like, we put him in the can and they get him out.
Right.
That was true though. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because so I heard like kind of after the fact, they're like, hey, we're double shipping this month.
Yeah.
And as I understand, I hope y'all get pissed at me for saying this, but whatever, this is the truth. I heard that they just kind of bumped up their shipping schedule just to kind of to hit some kind of bottom line or to up their numbers.
That makes sense.
They just grabbed a few books that typically do well, and they're like, let's just put out another one.
Okay.
And so that kind of put the screws to the creative teams a little bit. Like, damn, okay, like we're already we already have 2 creative teams going on Hulk because both artists need a little more than an issue a month.
Yeah.
So it kind of put everyone in a little bit of a jam, but this comics and that stuff happens. So yeah, it was supposed to be last month. I think initially it was supposed to be 2 issues came out last month, and then we kind of hit back on it, and then I thought they were going to just undo that, but they ended up just pushing it back 1 month. So now we had to double ship this month instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cause that
comics, baby.
Yeah. That actually, that actually had me concerned. Cause at first I thought usually when they double ship like that, I didn't think of the bottom line. I should have. I think it's a business
Normally
after all.
You do.
Well,
but,
no, I mean, why would you?
Right.
Why would you?
Right. But usually when they double ship like that, either we're actually getting ready they're trying to finish someone out and switch the story, or they're trying to maybe get something, especially like now that we're entering the fall and we're kind of towards the holidays. from the retail side of the, just from my experience on the retail side, it seems like that's when they'll start to kind of pick that up because they want to kind of get more of that holiday kind of, those funds in there for the bottom line, if you will. But at the same time, it's either that or it's they're getting ready to finish out a story so someone else can take over or something. So they had me kind of worried. I was like, "Uh-oh, what's going on? Like, are you?"
No, we're solid, man.
We're solid?
I hope
Okay.
to be on the book for a very long time.
Oh, great.
I mean, you
Great.
never know, though. I mean, it's possible. I mean, shit happens where a person, like a creative team, suddenly, like somebody leaves the book suddenly, and they need somebody, like they need somebody of a certain caliber on a certain caliber book or something, and then suddenly there's this big like curveball, you know. So curveballs definitely do happen. You know, a curveball led to me getting Hulk at all.
No.
So, you know, that stuff happens for sure.
Yeah.
But
That's good.
there's other reasons too. There was one. Let's see what happened. There was we had let's see, was it the annual? No, it was the giant sized Hulk issue that they wanted to put out, and then the Blood Hunt thing. Not too long after that, they decided where the giant size thing was going to fit in, and I knew I still wanted it to fit in with the story that we were telling with Charlie and everything. I didn't want it to be something that didn't make sense,
Right.
Because I figured like most of the readers would be following the monthly series as well,
Right.
Because I still wanted it to fit. But the place where I thought it was going to be getting like put on shelves was like a month off or something. So there was that issue where Charlie gets killed and turned into a porcelain doll. And then that giant size was supposed to be out like a month or two after that. And then I found, like, I saw previews or something, and it was actually that the train issue where Charlie was already a doll was going to come out before she gets turned into the fucking thing.
Oh God.
And I did like a stop the presses call, and I was like, I'm sorry to mess with anybody else's job here, but this cannot happen. I will kick in the door. I'll take hostages. This can't happen.
Yeah.
This is going to completely ruin it for every single reader we have. It just can't happen. I really kind of threw a fit, and nobody was like hitting back. They weren't like telling me no.
Right.
Right.
I was kind of expecting a no. So I really leaned into it. Like, please don't let this happen. So to their credit, they moved it like a decent bit. It's still, in theory, that arc was that giant size was supposed to be taking place after the the Strange Academy thing too. Like, it was supposed to be after.
Okay.
It was supposed to be Strange Academy, and then, you know, after that. But that didn't really matter. The only thing that really mattered was that we see the big reveal of Charlie as a doll at the end of chapter 11 before the other thing. Anyway, so these things happen, and it's hard to predict. There's so many with corporate comics at DC and Marvel. There's so many interacting stories. Sometimes things just get complicated and stuff gets moved around.
Yeah.
What's your schedule coming up? You've got Baltimore Con this weekend. You bouncing all over the place?
Like tomorrow, actually. Yeah.
All right.
So I'll be at Baltimore next 3 days. I will be in New York for a few days on an undisclosed location.
On a something. Wink.
We'll be able to talk about something down the road.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So I'll be in New York for a few days, and then I'll be on tour actually with my Army gig for a few weeks. Going down to, I'm not quite getting your way. I'm going to be in Texas and Oklahoma mostly.
Is that
last tour with the Army Field?
That's what I was going to ask. Is that your last tour?
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, my last actual performances with the Army Field Band in DC will be the holiday stuff and then the inaugural parade.
Oh wow,
bittersweet.
So,
very cool.
See how that goes.
What do you play? What do you play?
Trumpet.
Oh, trumpet. Oh. Sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my day job.
Violin.
Trumpet or violin?
Don't let Marcus confuse you, Shane.
Sorry. I don't want to get too far ahead. Are you going to be at MegaCon in Orlando?
I should be, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, next year's going to be pretty wide open, man. I'm with Scott's Collectibles. They're the guys that kind of handle my shows and stuff. And with them, I'll almost certainly be in Orlando. I'll be in MCM London. I'll be doing a show in Singapore. I'm doing San Diego, New York. I'm I'm not sure the others. Dallas.
Cool.
I'm not sure the other ones, but yeah, I'll be doing a lot of shows next year because Scott's Collectibles has kind of they've been super cool about my Army stuff, just kind of waiting for me to get out so I can start carrying more of their water, So I'll be doing more shows with that next year.
If there's a way that you could end up talking to, I was gonna say Mr. Collectibles, talking to Scott's Collectibles about getting over to Emerald City Con in Seattle, we're trying to get a group together to go over there. But I'll be in Orlando for
dope.
MegaCon. I'll be over there for MegaCon. I'm going.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to Orlando for sure.
Totally, man. Yeah. Orlando's a great show. I've never been to Emerald City, man. I gotta do that show.
Yeah, I went for the first time
Never
this past
done Rose
March.
City
It was
or
fun.
Emerald City either.
Rose City's a blast. It's great.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard great things about both of those.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll make it happen.
Yeah, man. Paul, sorry, Shane, are you awake?
Here. Absolutely. I'm just listening intently. I don't normally do that. Normally I yap the whole time.
He's the eye candy.
Yeah, he's just like tonight.
Yeah, he is.
Did you guys
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You got
PK.
the comments, Phil. Everyone's giving it. Well, the funny thing was he walked in today and goes, "Is no one going to compliment my shirt?" And
I
then
didn't say that.
yes, you did.
We didn't
quite-
say
What am I,
anything.
dummy?
No,
You're
you,
big dummy.
you absolutely
I'm an
said
idiot.
that. And then
Compliment
after he
my
said
shirt?
that,
Did I
a bunch
say
of
that
people
really?
who hadn't heard him say that start complimenting his shirt, like Brendan, Phil, a couple others.
I meant Frank specifically.
Well, everyone else.
Does
did.
command attention.
Yeah.
Shane, are you wearing that Superman ring? Like you
I'm
wear
not wearing
sometimes?
it tonight. I knew I should have put that on because I do love that
That's all right,
ring, and
that's
I know that certain people that it's
cool
on the
one.
show tonight love that ring.
I legit love it.
And but I figured this Red Fox shirt would outshine anything else in the room.
it's great.
You
Thank
big
so
dummy.
much, PKJ. I appreciate that.
Elizabeth, I'm coming for you. I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth.
I know this isn't work related. I know that you're busy writing like 19 things right now, but have you seen any of the Rings of Power? I know you're a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah, have you seen that?
any of that stuff?
I read through The Hobbit and the whole Lord of the Rings with my son recently. It took
Nice.
like months because I just read.
Yeah.
I read to him like a little bit before bed every single night, and we read that whole thing plus like the short stories and stuff too, like Smith from Wotan Major and like Farmer Giles of Ham and all that stuff. And I wanted him to see Rings of Power with me. I have seen the first season, but he
Yeah.
hasn't. So we're kind of creeping our way through
Oh,
the
okay.
first
Very
season
good.
right now. And as soon as we've watched all that, we'll get into the second season. I am stoked to see it though. I'm very
Nice.
hopeful that it's good.
I've enjoyed the second season more than the first.
It's good.
So
I'm not all the way caught up, but I am a massive Lord of the Rings guy. Like I've read
Yeah.
the Silmarillion a few times. I liked the first season, didn't love it. Of what I've watched of the second season, it's better.
I've
Great
enjoyed
storyline.
it.
It is very enthralling. The second season
Yeah.
is more
Yeah.
enthralling.
So
The,
I
the
think
first season is prettier, but the second season is more like
Better
a
storytelling,
show.
yeah.
it's more of a show.
it's
the first
not
season is just gorgeous to
setting the
see.
stage anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
it's
They got
good.
me at the end of that first season. I thought that they set up the ending extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
But as far,
Oh, yeah.
I feel you though. There's some stuff in it. Like I think it looks really great, and I'm very hopeful for the story. I mean, it's hard to beat that first film, man. Like
Yeah.
the films for me, kind of each one I like a little bit less.
How interesting.
But that first, I know if you guys feel differently, it's totally
I
fine.
love
I'm
them
not saying
all.
anything.
Oh.
For me, that first movie was just perfect.
Yep.
Like I could not have loved Fellowship any more than I did. And after that, it just got so into like the physical, like the visual stuff that like he just, like the stuff that Peter Jackson clearly enjoys, like
Mhm.
The big
the
scene.
ninjas taking down elephants and the ninja dwarves and barrels and shit like that. It's just kind of cool.
Oh yeah, the Hobbit.
big
I don't know
scene,
about
yeah,
those.
like-
I don't love the Hobbits. I love the 3 Lord of the Rings movies.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I consider it all. I was when I first watched them, they bummed me out, and I actually did not watch the third one. I was like, this sucks, so I just stopped watching them. But later on, with kind of I let my disappointment to kind of flow out of me, and I watched them again and just let it wash over me. Just let myself enjoy it for what it is and what not for what it's not.
That's
and
me and the
I
Star
did
Wars
like them. It
prequels.
was fun. It was
Yeah.
definitely not Tolkien, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and it was I liked it. It was fun. But man,
Nice.
that first movie was
Fantastic.
just like the gold standard for me.
I won't disagree with that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see
Okay.
what you think going forward. I mean, it's we got like an episode, 1 or 2 episodes
Yeah.
left before the second season wraps.
Yep.
I mean, I'm only like 3 episodes in to the second season, but I've enjoyed it.
Right.
I
I think
I've enjoyed it a lot.
episode
It's really
5
cool to
dropped
see
yesterday.
that time from
Yeah.
that world on screen.
Sure.
Like I didn't think we ever would,
Yeah.
That's cool.
That animated movie coming out in November too looks
The
really
War
cool.
of
About
Yeah.
Helm Hammerhand. That's
Yeah.
gonna be dope.
Yeah, I know.
That's December, right? Yeah.
Oh, December.
It's so cool that
think
my son is
it was
into all the
October,
same stuff
November.
now, man. It's been really like I want to watch all that stuff with him. I want to go back and read. I mean, the Silmarillion is not like a story per se. It's
No,
like,
not really.
Like the Old Testament kind of.
Yeah, very, very.
How old is your
But,
son?
I don't know. He's 10 now.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect.
Perfect.
That's how you do it.
Yeah,
Perfect time.
It's great. He's kind of fallen into D&D stuff, and that's cool. It's really fun. But we watched the Hobbit cartoon before we watched all the live action stuff. That one holds a lot of like I'm really attached to that first cartoon.
Yeah.
I thought that was really great.
We watched that. when we were little,
Classic.
too. Yeah.
And to me, that's a much creepier Gollum. That's still
Oh, dude, yeah.
my Gollum. I can't get that Gollum out of my head.
Terrifying. I
You
love
see
it.
Andy
Yeah.
Serkis, you say, not my Gollum.
Hashtag not my
yeah.
Gollum.
Not my Gollum.
It's great. I'm not like pissed about it. He's great. But I do need to, I need to find out who that actor is. That guy, the same guy, did some other stuff with that same animation company. He played the creepy Carney guy in Last Unicorn and some other stuff, like some stuff that those guys did.
Yeah.
That actor's great. I got to look him up and see what he did and see what else he did.
Nice.
The weirdo.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's called him the weirdo that he was.
Perfect.
Guy. I'm sorry. Adding that on.
Phil, the time always goes by so quick, but
It does.
again, man, I mean, we've been able to talk and connect like 7-8 times, and it's always great. We appreciate you, sharing too much information when
My
you
pleasure.
spend time with us. And if you want to mention anything that's coming up or how they can get a hold of you in the social worlds.
Yeah, man, please just look for Batman and Robin. I am extremely stoked about that story. I really tried to leave it all in the cage on that book, man.
Yeah.
I have to assume it's my only Batman story ever, and so I just want to honor all the other readers. I want to honor the kids who need it like I did. I want to honor the people who grew up with him the way I did. I want to show him as the world's greatest detective.
Nice.
So please read that book. I'm so
looking
excited
forward
about
to
it.
it.
Please read. If you hate Nazis, read Hell Hunters. That book. I mean, that book is my therapy. So
Yeah.
I'm so proud of that too. Crocodile Black's about to wrap up. Like the Hulk, we have plans. We're making plans for Hulk right now that are going to go on potentially for years.
Oh wow.
Nick is
Okay.
just doing
Very
the
cool.
Lord's work on that book. I am so stoked about all of it. So just
Nice.
thanks so much to all the readers for reading all the books, and to you guys for having me on. You guys are friends, and it's always great seeing you.
Absolutely.
And
We appreciate
and to viewers, just thanks all of you for giving me this vehicle. So check out Phillip Kennedy Johnson. I try to keep that updated with the books I'm doing. I'm on social media under my full name or at Phillip K Johnson, and that's about it. Just keep reading. Thanks so much for the support.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
absolutely.
Always,
Yeah.
always.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you.
Well, I'm about to get out of the Army, and I'm going to have more bandwidth, and I have a lot of really
Hey.
exciting shit coming. So
Nice.
once
Hey.
I'm
That's really
just a
exciting.
writer, I hope to have more stories out there.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it.
It's also exciting to know that Marvel seems to be open to you playing the long game. So that's good.
Yeah,
with Hulk
Totally.
and what
Yeah,
others.
they've been amazing. DC too. I can't ask for anything more.
Right.
That's very,
Very
cool. Shane, what do you got for the people?
I love PKJ, man. He's one of the most humble yet exciting guests we got on here. It truly has been just an absolute pleasure to have you on. Every time you come on, it's an event almost, just because how great he is. He's a great guy, man. I dig
That's kind of you to
PKJ.
say, man.
Thank you.
This is my favorite show, straight up. Favorite show to do.
Hey, all right. Boom.
Thank you so much.
Right
Wow. Really? It's impossible. Really? No, we love you, brother.
Marcus, what's going on with what's
man.
up?
Well, kind of echoing kind of what he was saying. Yeah, check out Batman and Robin. You started you started issue 14, was it?
Yeah, issue 14. It comes out the same day as Absolute Batman, and it's honestly it's kind of cool. I mean, I know, like Absolute Batman has been, I mean, Scott and everybody's been doing, like DC actually has been doing like the full court press on marketing that book.
Nice.
So everyone's talking about it, and I understand like that kind of an event kind of sucks all the air out of the room. But I don't know, I'm kind of not scared. I really like having like I like having those books on the shelf at like the same moment because
oh yeah,
the Absolute Batman book is such a physical. It's like the physicality of this new Batman is like the point. It's all about like this is a guy without resources, and he just made himself into this behemoth of a fighter.
Right.
And it's all about the physicality of Batman. And mine is about Batman, the greatest detective, and how his history has changed him, has made him what he is, and how that relates to his son that he now has to raise and doesn't know how. So it's a very different, much more like psychological kind of take on Batman. It's a much grittier noir kind of take on Gotham. I'm really excited for people to see that contrast.
Awesome. Yeah. So I would just say, just be on the lookout for that. Check out Crocodile Black if you haven't checked that out so far. That was great too. I expected it to be. It needs to be a lot longer.
We talked about that before you got here.
Yeah, that needs to be a lot longer. And then, check out his Warworld Saga stuff too. That was great too. I mean, they should give it a. I think they need to give that a hardcover treatment. They gave it a trade paperback, which I like, but I like a hardcover.
Actually, my omnibus drops next year.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, they did announce that. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, they announced the PKJ Superman Omnibus Volume 1.
Nice.
Boom.
Yes.
Fantastic.
There it is.
Yeah, and that takes us through the end of the Warworld Saga.
Yeah. Awesome.
Paul, how can they find us all in?
You can find us all in at Into the West Comics on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Pods, anywhere you might listen to the podcast, and at Into_Comics. If you're ever curious who's going to be on the show, there's a post there all the time on every Thursday. So and just thanks everyone who watches and hangs out every week. And shout out Quan, who always keeps us at such a high production level, reins us in when we start getting crazy. And
he's a mental patient, but
shout out Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Really, it's just super cool to have you always on. Kind of have our little insider almost to learn all the things we love so much about comics.
The stuff he's not supposed to say.
Yeah. No, he doesn't really ever tell us anything like
he's
not supposed to.
Maybe.
No, we're just really grateful that we get to talk to the guy who get to be friends with the dude who writes Batman and Robin and Hulk and Superman. Like that's
one of the greatest writers in comic book history, hands down.
I mean,
well, it's kind of easy to say, man.
I'm excited to read Batman and Robin. I'm more excited for Batman and Robin than I am for Absolute Batman. And I think by proxy, being on the shelf when a bunch of new readers who don't usually read go in to get Absolute Batman, they'll pick that book up too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited for that.
But Phil, again, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. We really do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to having you back on, sometime early next year. Because a lot of guys may or may not know. I mean, we talked about it last week. We are going to be taking a break. We have one episode left next week. We'll have some guests live on the line and in the studio, I believe. We'll be taking a little bit of a mental break. Maybe get a nap in or something. I'm not sure.
We
are taking a little bit of a break. We'll be back in January. But we are going to be taking a little bit of a break. But again, man, we just appreciate you so much. You're taking the time to hang out with us. And if we weren't going to have you on next week for the finale, we do appreciate you being on now.
Fantastic.
It means a lot to us for you to
we needed
be on.
this for sure.
Yeah.
And
anytime.
Yeah,
let me know when you're back on. We'll do it again.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Sounds good.
But as far as tonight, it's taco time in America.
It is taco time in America.
And we will talk to you
That
guys
place is
soon.
good, man. Looking forward to getting back there.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Phil came with us when he was out
Yeah,
here.
it was good.
Yeah.
Place is delicious.
I did.
Thank you.
Shout out tacos and beer.
Yeah, man.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell Sonny I said hey too.
Absolutely.
For real. We'll do.
Yeah.
And on the last thing on the note about the us taking a break, we will be here for our Halloween special, though. Don't fret. We'll be there
October
for that,
24th.
dressed up. And then there will be a smattering of stuff throughout the end of the year before we officially come back for January. So we ain't going away.
No.
We're just
We'll be around.
Taking
It's a little timeout.
yeah.
Yeah. Phil, thank you.
I need time to get drunk at home by myself.
That's why we're taking the break.
Yeah.
Shane needs to drink at home.
One way or another, it comes back to Shane.
Taxis are expensive. Phil, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a great night. We appreciate you.
See you next time.
Appreciate you, Phil. Yeah, appreciate it.
Love you,
Thanks,
man.
chat, everyone.
Love you,
Brendan.
man. Thank everybody in the
I
chat.
almost said Shane.
Love you, Evo.
Brendan, Phil, Andrew, everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Shane, thank you for being in the chat.
Shane, well, he was.
Shane, thank you
I
for
got
being
in there a
Shane.
little bit.
Yeah, thank you for being
Just a
Shane.
scotch. Thank you, folks.
Good night, everyone.